Hi, I'm Kroglander, and welcome back to Sonic Unleashed. And in this part we see what Mazuri is like in the PS2 version. But like in the PS3 version, we have to do a spot of investigating before we head over. Fortunately for us, this is not Professor Layton Mystery. We just talk to Professor Pickle's assistant in the back alley, and Pickle's lab opens up to move the story along. Now, I have decided not to show the cutscenes again in full, considering I've already shown them in the previous part. So I'm just going to show you like 10 seconds worth of each clip, just so you know where each cutscene falls within this version of the game.
What? Professor Pickle's been kidnapped?
You want me to repeat everything back to you for the benefit of the audience?
Old man showed up with a whole pack of robots.
So after that cutscene, we know exactly where to go now, to Mazuri. As much as I like the story of Sonic Unleashed, I have to say that Tails is somewhat relegated to the role of chauffeur. His biggest role in the game is just to simply transport Sonic and Chip around the world in the tornado. Kind of a waste, but at the same time, I suppose it's better than trying to force a role. At least he's there. And he's always been Sonic's sidekick, so I guess it would make sense, really. You enter the Mazuri hub world at night. Now this part is pretty simple. You just click on the shop option and then Chip will find a mysterious hole which will then lead you to the location of Professor Pickle. And unlike the HD versions of the game, we don't have to traverse a werehog level to find him. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? You decide.
Professor Pickle! Are you alright? We got here as fast as we could.
Well, as fast as these stubby little werehog legs will allow.
Hello?
How dare they call this
And we now get the cutscene where Professor Pickle explains what's going on. The whole legend of Dark Gaia coming up to destroy the Earth, so on and so forth. Now something interesting about this lab is that you see hundreds of books, and all of them are about the preparation of sandwiches. He does like sandwiches, our Professor Pickle. And after we have the plot explained to us, we are then sent to Mazuri to finish off that continent. And something else I wanted to point out is that in the PS2 version, as you progress through the game, levels and missions in previous continents open up. But for this playthrough, I'll be sticking mainly to the main story of both versions. Upon entering Mazuri for the second time, we are then treated to the Eggman Threatens the Villagers cutscene, which I really like, and it just goes to show the presentation of this game. It's very cinematic, with the cutscenes and the camera angles and the professional voice acting. It's really nicely done, and I like it.
Who are you?
What do you mean, who are you? You would think trying to take over the world numerous times would make you famous. When re-entering the hub world, just click on the Holy Tree location and talk to the character there. It's at this point we meet the character of Gwek, who's the village elder and also a guardian of the shrines. And by talking to him we receive the planet tablet. Now these planet tablets are required to unlock a door within the shrines, usually the golden glowing door, which you'll see in a minute. And this door is usually the location of a boss. and after defeating said boss, you usually restore a continent. So at this point we're given one of these planet tablets, but later on we usually have to complete a day level and a night level before we get one. And with that, the shrine is now open. But before that, I take some time to talk to a NPC in the hub world. The point being to show off how to get items, because another way to get items is to talk to people within the hub world. And you can see now by talking to the lady in the shop, I get a free piece of music. But to be serious, I would rather have the soundtrack available, like say when I complete the game, have all tracks in a playlist in the options menu, rather than scouring the entire game, the levels and the characters to find them. Although if I'm honest, I go to YouTube to listen to music nowadays, so I guess it doesn't matter either way. When entering the Mazuri shrine, you may notice that there is no sun door or moon door, and that's obviously because there's no day level or night level. But what there is a singular golden star door, which leads to a boss fight. Every continent afterwards has one of these boss doors, and after defeating the boss, you usually restore the continent. And of course, this is the door you need the planet tablet to unlock. And of course, before the boss fight, we get a quite cool scene where Sonic confronts Robotnik. And watching him running back and forth reminds me of the car insurance advert he did recently. But yeah, something I like about this cutscene, which I said before, is this sort of presentation, especially with the camera angles sort of going around Sonic. You really do get an impression of his speed. You know, it's one thing that he's called Eggman, but does he have to call everything he creates egg something? You're just rubbing it in. Yeah, again, the same approach with the PS3 version. Just run forward, collect rings, dodge attacks. Except in this version, he feels the strange need to throw companion cubes at me. I guess he's bitter at GLaDOS or something. Oh, and like the other version, this boss also has 2D sections. Except, of course, he does have a different moveset. Like in this version, you can see now he's launching these 3 missiles at once. Whereas in the other version, we got vertical missiles with landmines. But yeah, in both versions, this is actually a really enjoyable boss fight. Again, very simple, just run forward and boost into him, dodging attacks, but no, it's fun to do. I like these bosses. And of course, like the levels in the PS2 version, you are graded on time here, so getting hit doesn't really count. As long as you defeat the boss in a quick time, which I do, you do get the S rank. So yeah, I do actually appreciate the differences between the two. It makes it a bit more interesting. The difficulty of this boss is fairly easy, but it is the first boss of the game. And especially the Sonic the Hedgehog boss fights in this game, it is a nice introduction. It pretty much shows you the basics. Because the bosses after all, well, Sonic's bosses after this are pretty similar. You know, when looking over this footage, I have realised I've come close to 2 minutes of gameplay, as you'll see here, as opposed to the numerous cutscenes and hub worlds I've seen. you could argue that's a problem with the game. I personally don't mind. I like the cinematic presentation of the game, but yeah, I could see why that would be a bad thing with the game. And with the egg beetle taken care of, we are now treated to a series of cutscenes where Chip and Sonic restore the Mazuri continent. Now, like I've said here, I've already shown the cutscenes, so I'm just going to show clips of them, just so you know where they fall in this game. And again, we see the first continent being restored. But yeah, it's a really cool aspect. It's very cinematic again, and it's a nice way of showing the player's progress throughout the game. Particularly when you go back to the world map select screen and you see each continent has been restored. It's a nice indicator for the player. It shows how far they've come, what we've done so far. Well, that's pretty much all you get in the PS2 version of Mazuri. We get a boss fight, but no actual levels. Kind of a shame, I suppose. But I'm not quite done with this part yet. As you can see now, I've now switched to the PS3 version, because there's something I have to show off. Now, as I've said before, you need these medals to unlock the later levels of the game. So what I'm doing now is showing you how I collected the medals I have. I'm not going to show you every medal in the game, but I'll show you enough to complete the game. And you can see now we start off in Windmill Oil Hub, the shimmering sea, the blue sky, the quaint little seaside village. I do like that hub. It's a nice, relaxing place. But as you can see, it's a fairly small hub. The medals are hidden in alleys, nooks and crannies, or behind smash pots. So just keep an eye out, and you should find them. Now, to give credit to another YouTube user called Sonic the Medals, I have to reference him because I used his video guides on how to find the medals, and I'll give that a shout out to him because I found his videos very useful when recording footage for my LP here. To mention the graphics again, in the PS3 version they really are gorgeous. You know, the lighting, the textures, it really looks really good. Very realistic. Well, not realistic, but polished is the word I would use. Now, as you just saw before, I had to switch between night and day to collect the medals in the hub worlds, because they have different medals depending on whether it's night or day. Now, as for the stage select, they work a bit differently. You can see on the screen there's 4 medals altogether, and so there's only 4 medals in this area, whether it's night or day. So, in the hub worlds, go between night and day to get all the medals. In the stage select, they appear night and day. It's kind of inconsistent and a bit confusing when trying to make sure you get all the medals. But luckily in the stage select you do get those little numbers in the corner telling you where to go. Look, this manual bop. Nice. Who needs the homing attack, eh? But yeah, it's fairly simple. Just make your way around the area and yeah, find the medals. Now what you see there is a optional stage, which you don't have to do. But yeah, I'm not doing them. I find the optional stages in a Sonic Unleashed not that good, because they're like the big major levels except smaller and harder. So for me they're a lot less enjoyable. Now you can obviously see here I'm supposed to use the Werehog to get this last medal, but I thought I thought, if I can balance across this to get it, I'll just do that. So the werehog here, who needs him? And with the last Moo medal collected, this is all the Moo medals you get in the Apatos hub and stage select. But I'm not quite done yet. I think I'll collect the medals in Mazuri. Now, as you can see, the village section here is it's really small. It's basically just a circle of houses. So finding them wasn't really that hard, especially with the guide. But what I mean is they're just scattered around the back here. Fairly simple to collect. Yeah, the medal collecting can be a negative part of this game, because I've heard from a lot of people who get stuck because they need to find more medals. But luckily, before I knew about this problem, and I just made a point to collect all the medals beforehand, or collect as many as I could, and it wasn't really an issue for me. And now that I've entered the stage select, it's on to collect a few more medals. On this apparent climbing frame, so I guess you could call this a jungle gym, Tish. Yeah, this part is fairly easy to navigate. Just follow the path and you should have no trouble finding them. And more with balancing. The balancing aspect of this game it's not really that appreciated. I'm not too keen on it. You know, I do really like this aspect of the stage select. The fact that they got like little puzzles or little obstacles scattered around, because they're like they're like mini levels, if you will. Makes it a bit more interesting. And now I switch to not day, because there are a few I just can't get without it. And of course behind the tree is a spring. A very stealthy way of hiding the medal. Now this next one is a little more tricky to collect. You sort of have to do a little mini boost to get up this curved ramp here, which seems odd to me. It's kind of a little tricky to do. But anyway, once you're up, you just do a homing attack, and with that you now know the locations of a few more medals. Please join me again for the next part.